Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Anthony Leonetti Show today with the Scoop Slam Report. I'm here with the one and the only Anthony Blackwell Jr., my guy. What's going on, man? How have you been?
I'm doing great, man. Just working, getting my life back on track, making content, having some fun.
All the grind, right? It's all about the
Yeah,
grind at the end of the
the
day.
grind.
Let us know how we look in the chat. I think we look pretty good actually so far. I don't know if we're going to put up any chats just because I tried to do that earlier. Well, I know we got Last Week in Wrestling podcast in here, EW1. It's some others coming in the building. ABJ, I got to say, man, we haven't done something together in quite a long time. But when I was looking at your brand, you have so much podcast stuff going on because I know you do your normal stuff and you've been doing a lot more content creators as well. On top of that, from like TikTok and stuff, but you got movie reviews going on, tornado tag. You can kind of spiff off here if you want to promote yourself a little bit. Throw
Yeah,
throw
yeah.
those
So
podcasts in there.
I do the ABJ podcast, and then the ABJ podcast has kind of spun off into like the ABJ Presents, where it's not so much interviews all the time. It's
Mhm.
also movie reviews, or it's not just movie; it's all pop culture reviews. But then we do ones specifically just for horror. We're also doing the Tornado Tag, which is more of a retro look at wrestling, not so much current day. We do a little bit in the beginning of like what we think's interesting in current day, and a little bit the independent scene. But we mostly have a topic, whether it's reviewing an old show or
Okay.
whether it's talking of an old topic, like we just did Abdul the Butcher, the history of Abdul the Butcher. But we just started this new one that I really like called What If. It's kind of like the Marvel series, like what if we went back and rewrote wrestling history or rebooked a show of how we would have done it.
Okay.
So that's been taken off. That's been a lot of fun. So this Sunday we'll be doing King of the Ring '95, which is one of the worst shows of all time.
Is that the one
And then
Mabel one?
Mabel, yeah, yeah.
Ugh.
And then we're gonna go back the next week and do a what if we rebooked King of the Ring '95 and made it good. And we're also been doing like wrestling movie reviews. So we've done Iron Claw, we've done Body Slam. So we have a lot coming up. Just grinding, trying to get some new cameras so I can do a little more. But we have a lot more content coming. I'm bringing back beer review as well as some of the Devil's Lettuce review coming up, but it's not so much of doing it because of the substance. It's more of a like a social thing. Like we're not going to be frat boys, like especially with the medical. I don't know what to say on your channel, but the medical grass. It's more of like, well, why do you use it, and what does it do for you, health benefits wise, and stuff like that. So it's
Mhm.
not like a negative light, but we're bringing that in soon, and then
Nice.
kind of announcing here on your show, we're bringing back. So when I used to do my old channel, it was 6 different podcasts, and I'm kind of rebrand it with ABJ, and then I'm kind of bringing back those older content underneath the ABJ Presents.
Okay.
But myself and Witchcraft by Lily will be bringing back Truth Behind Illusion, which will be more of like a podcast that's all like um, paranormal, metaphysical stuff, spooky stuff. So talking about stuff like that. So that'll be something coming to the rotation. Just something to always every week give something new to somebody. So if you're not a pro wrestling fan, we can add something in there that's for you. But just been making a piece of content at least 1 to 2 day a week since for the past 6 years is not an easy thing to do.
No, yeah, the content creation, people don't realize how much of a struggle it can be at times. Oh, did we lose? I think we just lost Blackwell, actually. I think his connection just went out. Witchcrafts by Lily, what's going on? Yeah, I think we definitely just lost ABJ. Let me go to a single shot real quick here. Um, that was weird. That was really weird. Uh, I'll just wait for him to come back. Sorry, guys. Tech issues happen. I think his connection went out, but we can fix that real quick here by going to the solo mode. Uh, there we go. Cool. All right. Sorry about that, guys. Sorry about that, guys. Hopefully, we'll get Blackwell back in here. There we go. There we go. Yeah, I think it was just an internet thing. I thought it was
Yeah,
me. I thought it was me.
it just you StreamYard just like we're gonna give you a break real quick, and then just go ahead
Plugging
yeah,
too much. No,
yeah.
yeah, I mean, I really like what you have built for yourself, especially because uh, I I can't lie, I'm not in every single stream, but I know you did like a
It's impossible.
Terminator
I do too
2
much. Yeah.
review, which I really enjoyed that. I listened to that a lot because I'm a big fan of Terminator 1 and Terminator 2. And I've seen some of your other stuff as well, like doing, just other people that aren't really related to wrestling, but are content creators on like TikTok and stuff. I
Yeah,
really do
yeah,
enjoy that stuff. I think it's eye opening to not even just to wrestling fans, but to people that are on the platform that are trying to make content because there's so much content out there when it really comes to different lifestyles and different things of that nature. So I really like the stuff you've done, and I know I don't know if I ever publicly said it, but congrats on 1,000 subscribers as well.
yeah. Took a while, but we
Um,
got there.
yeah, but yeah, we got there.
The goal is 2,000 by the end of the summer. So tell your friends I'm coming.
How much farther away are we from
A
that?
while. I'm only like
A little while. Okay.
1,200. Yeah, we got a while to go.
Hey, you never know. You
Some
make
like
some make
Tantalizing
some
Tony can get
clips.
like 800 a week, and I get like 800 in 2 years.
Well, he's touring the whole world. He's
Oh, that's the
he's
big thing, man.
everywhere.
He's not afraid to go out there and scream and yell and get himself out there.
Yeah.
I'm pretty extroverted, but he's extroverted on a whole new level.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
he'll go out there to Canada. I'm sure at some point he's probably gonna make a Saudi show, or he's gonna go
Yeah,
to
yeah.
Bash in Berlin. He's gonna do it like he's gonna go out there and do a whole lot. But you know, speaking of kind of bringing it back to wrestling and going to wrestling shows, um, we got a lot coming up when it comes to WWE. When it comes to them doing SummerSlam, AEW is also doing Blood and Guts, which is coming up. I forget exactly what date that is, but Blood and Guts is coming up for them. And pretty soon as well, after SummerSlam, we'll have All In Wembley Stadium, the second one for
I will not be there
AEW.
this year, unfortunately. I had to take a pass this year. Yeah,
Really?
I
Ah,
started the new job. I'm catching up and I just couldn't see going a week without a pay when I'm so close to getting caught up. I think my goal is to get caught up financially,
mhm,
and then I can start reinvesting back into the podcast. And I had
yeah.
to take a back seat when it came to going to a show. But WWE just made an announcement. I might be going to, oh, not might be, I'm going to my first NXT pay per view or premium live
Really?
event.
Okay.
You know me, I love spooky, and Halloween Havoc is coming to Hershey, Pennsylvania.
Wow.
I'm there. I'm going to Halloween Havoc in Hershey, baby.
I might have to think about going. I
Yeah,
don't
I mean,
know.
it's Hershey's a fun arena. There's not a bad seat,
Yeah.
and it's Halloween Havoc. Like that's awesome.
Yeah, that might be a really cool show. Hopefully, Shotzi will also be there because she usually hosts a lot of those Halloween Havoc PLEs. So that
Yeah,
might be
my
a
friend
lot,
just
lot of fun.
made some content with Shotzi. They're really good friends, and I was DMing her. I'm like, I'm so jealous. I love Shotzi so much.
Wow. Yeah, I'll have to look into the Halloween Havoc thing. The one thing I did want to mention to you was you were at Wembley Stadium for All In.
Yes.
I was at WrestleMania 40 at the Link. When it comes to like the aura of stadium shows, uh, You was that your first stadium, like, wrestling
That was my
show?
first
Like, big one?
pay-per-view
First pay-per-view ever live?
ever, ever.
Wow. What
Yeah.
what kinda I feel like with stadium shows, I mean, that was my first WrestleMania as well, and it might be my only, I don't know, the tickets are so expensive,
Yeah.
but for me, when I was in that stadium, it just, like, brings out another vibe of pro wrestling that I think it's just because being at, like, the Wells Fargo Center, for example, it's cool. It's, like, 20,000 people in there or whatever. I've went to AEW at the Liacouras Center, at Temple, and that was, like, a good time too, but just when those, like, stadium shows are there, it just makes everything feel like a big fight feel. Did you
Yeah.
kinda feel that way as
So
well?
so for me, Wembley Stadium was a bucket list.
Mhm.
I love I mean, not so much for the sporting aspect of Wembley, like the statues of all the sports figures outside. I had no
Yeah.
idea who any of those were. I don't follow those sports.
Right.
Um, but like the fact that like Freddie Mercury and the Beatles and Queen and
Yeah.
Elton John and all these amazing musicians who all played like Wembley Stadium is the European stadium to play. Like that is
Mhm.
just iconic. It's a great venue. The whole play right there. I watched Rocket Man and Bohemian Rhapsody over and over again. Like that is what made Wembley important for me. Like just to be in that presence, but adding on top of it, AEW was even cooler. And the fact that like AEW I mean, I'm very independent wrestling driven, and the fact that like the people who have paid the road for me and a lot of the people I've worked with on the independent scene are all in AEW, and they've paved the local Northeast scene between New York, Ohio, Pennsylvania, New Jersey, and to see them go from venues I've worked at for 100 people or 200 people to selling out Wembley Stadium, and at the time we all thought was like one of the highest gated wrestling shows of all time,
Yeah.
is special. Is really really special. I didn't know I was going to be seeing CM Punk's last match in the company that night against Samoa Joe.
Yeah.
Um, Hearing Saraya walk out to Queen and the entire stadium kicking and doom doom like that was I was ready to cry. Got to see Sting live. I'm not a huge Sting fan, but hearing him have to come out to Seek and Destroy. Eddie Kingston having a big moment coming back out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like the brawl, the stadium brawl. Like it was special, and it made it really special too because like you've been around this for a while with the content creating thing. Like I met through content creating Raz, who's from Australia. Like
Yeah.
we've talked for almost a year before ever really meeting each other, and for us to meet on two different sides of the world in one common place in London and just hang out for a week, and that was all through the power of professional wrestling. It was just overall an experience. It'll be tough to top. You know what I mean? It was a
Yeah.
beautiful moment all around.
Yeah, and you know, I I wasn't there at Wembley. I did buy the pay-per-view, and I think it was one of the best produced AEW pay-per-views that they've done in their history.
Yeah.
Albeit, they've been around for 5 years, but in terms of, it feels like it's their Super Bowl. It's their WrestleMania. The way it was put on. So from that aspect, I really did think and especially, I mean, Adam Cole and MJF, they had an absolute banger of a
Well, they
match,
started the
you
night.
know?
They started the show with the
Yeah.
ROH Tag Team Championships, and then closed the night with the main show. And I've never seen a crowd so emotionally invested in two people before, and that it's a shame that Adam got hurt because man, the people were hooked to that storyline. Like it
Yeah.
was good. It was good. MJF is the GOAT right now. He just knows how to emotionally invest people back into pro wrestling.
Oh, yeah, without whether he's a face or a heel, by the way, he can
Yeah,
do it both ways, and
he's
he is the
unbelievable.
man. Um, I just saw AW's comment. I wanna put that up. I wanna try it. It might crash the whole stream, but we'll try it. Um, oh, wait, why did it do
You're
that?
good.
Nah,
Oh, I
just
cut it
on
off.
my end, yeah, cut it
So it
off.
says definitely
Meh.
working on improving my visual quality. You guys continue to motivate and inspire me to get better. Much love to you guys for sure. E1, my DMs are always open. If you need equipment ideas or a camera or anything, shoot me a message. I'm always there to help out. I do want to collaborate soon with E1 Kicks on content because he does shoe content, and AEW superstars are getting some sneakers. It's hard to see, but up here in the corner, if I can get my finger. I'm dyslexic.
You
I have
got
the
it.
Brodies. I got the Brody shoes, and I'm looking to get possibly another pair that I can kick around in. Also, I want to get the
There
Young
we
Bucks
go.
shoes, but Swerve Strickland's got some shoes coming out. Actually, speaking of, Diodora just came out with new Young Bucks, and they have Lucha Bros shoes.
Really?
Yeah, they have a Penta shoe and a Ray Phoenix shoe, and then Diodora just dropped Young Bucks shoes. They're not pumps; they're more Diodora style.
Okay.
Yeah, so yeah, AEW stars are getting some cool shoe deals, and I think that's
There
super
we
important to pro wrestling that they're getting those opportunities to get their names out there on more of a pop culture level when it comes to sneakers. And EW1, if you're a sneakerhead, it's a great content to follow. I know my brother's in the chat, Austin, Captain Butters. Definitely go check out E1 Kicks, man. My brother's a big sneakerhead too.
Hey, what's up? What's up, Boston, and everyone else that's kind of joining? And we got 10 peeps in here.
Look
Um,
at that.
the one thing I did want to follow up, and by the way, EW1, thank you for that as well. Where we ABJ, myself, anyone that's like a content creator that's like trying to do it, that really like puts that detail in. It's hard work, but we hope that it pays off, and we hope you all kind of enjoy it, and it kind of takes away from our daily lives a little bit and gives you something a little bit more of an entertainment value. And getting back to like that stadium kind of vibe, uh, like you kind of said with Wembley, I kind of felt the same thing at WrestleMania 40. I was there both nights. Night one, not exactly what I wanted out of a WrestleMania, but night two, I mean, it was just off the charts to me. I really had a blast, and I honestly speaking, I think I got to witness one of the greatest WWE main events that they ever put on, like produced wise, in my opinion. Um, just being in that building for that, it was incredible, to say the least. For like 40 years of WrestleMania, for it to be in Philly and all that, it was just such a great experience. Now, well, I'll start also with this. What did you make of that WrestleMania? Because like I said, for people that don't know, me and ABJ haven't talked as much. Doesn't mean we're not
Yeah,
cool or anything. We just have we've been busy with a lot of
busy.
things.
Yeah.
Um, so what did you kind of make of that WrestleMania?
Overall, I thought it was a good show. I thought there
Hmm.
was definitely some things that I didn't like about it. I didn't like they sacrificed Karrion Cross's group for a Bubba Ray Dudley spot. I didn't like that they sacrificed like some of the matches were too commercialized, like the Snoop Dogg on commentary. I hated. I feel like it's already hard enough to be commentary in most of this wrestling scene, and then to just like anyone get on a microphone and say whatever they want, however they want, is kind of it diminishes when someone tries to be different, right? Like these
Yeah,
like Snoop Dogg has no future in commentary and doesn't care about doing commentary. And I know he does his own channel where he does commentary where he just acts a fool. But like I feel like there's no thought to it. And like Pat McAfee is definitely an inspiration, but also he actually puts a little bit of brain into his content.
yeah,
But so that stuff took me out of a lot of it. But you don't know that from watching from the arena. And then the bloodline stuff, man. I was really hesitant with the whole Rock joining this storyline. I didn't think it was needed. I still don't think it's needed. I thought it was a cash grab.
mhm,
And then to end the whole night with the Undertaker really put a bad taste in my mouth. I thought the visual of the night should have been everyone that Roman has done dirty when it came to this 2 year, 3 year storyline of everyone he's cheated. They should have been the ones to come out and run off the bloodline. So then Cody would have had his one on one moment. And for the Stone Cold, I know the rumor was Stone Cold to show up, but just the fact that like he showed up, the Undertaker showed up out of nowhere, and then just disappeared, just took me out of it because there was nothing to do with that storyline. Like, sure, you want to dig deep and be like, well, there's rivalry and history there. I don't
mhm.
care. The 2 year storyline was Roman screwing everybody over. And then at the very end, everyone came out to celebrate. Those same people who came out to celebrate should have been the ones to run off the resistance because they were the ones who were affected by the resistance. And I just didn't really like the way they capped that story off. And I think it did a little bit of disservice.
I could agree with some of the points. I will tell you from being there live, the Karrion Cross match against the Street Profits and Bobby Lashley. That match, um, I think the opener was so good
Mhm.
that the energy kinda, like, died a little bit, and I love Karrion Cross and those guys, but there was an issue with the lighting in the upper decks, so the whole match, people were chanting, "Turn the lights off."
Yeah.
So there was really no reaction from the crowd. They had Bubba in there, and I don't think that many people really cared about the rivalry. Like WWE didn't do really a good job in kind of hyping that up. So it was just kind of like, oh, we're in Philly, let's do a street fight. That's
Yeah.
like essentially what that was. And I'll tell you this about the Undertaker thing. I said it on my last episode, and I was not very appreciative of Undertaker coming back to doing those matches when he was coming back. He teamed with like Roman in like 2019. He wrestled Goldberg and all that stuff. Some of that stuff was, not the best of Undertaker's like work in his career. And some of it, did end up being good. But I was like, man, I wish he just kind of would have retired already. I was expecting Austin to come out, and when he did not come out, and when I heard the gong, because I also took my dad with me on night two, and when I heard the gong, I felt like I was like 5 years old again, all over
Yeah.
again. And I'm someone that I love attention to detail when it comes to storylines. And I will say that I think there should have been a little more resistance when it came to maybe LA Knight Sami Zayn, Kevin Owens maybe coming out. I do understand that WWE kinda didn't I'm assuming the reason why some of those guys didn't come out was because they had matches prior on the card, because of all the
But they
guys that
came out to celebrate, so it would have been the same
yeah,
effect
yeah.
anyway.
It would have been it would have been the same effect anyway, but I'm wondering if, because I don't know if you watched the WrestleMania documentary. I watched it. I didn't like it too much. I thought it was good, but there was parts where it was just kind of like The Rock saying it was all my doing. But
It was. Because he's seen money and said, "How can I insert myself?"
yeah, yeah, and I think for me, nobody in that arena, or sorry, I should say stadium because it is a stadium. No one in that stadium left with like a sour taste in their mouth, and I was okay with the legends being there. Just simply, I guess more of it also is Cena did have a thing with Solo, so I guess
Mhm.
that was okay.
I don't mind seeing a
Yeah,
part of that because he was part of this 2-year story.
yeah, and they used Undertaker kind of for shock value.
Yeah. My
Yeah.
biggest problem is even with The Rock coming back,
Mhm.
is WWE has its audience pre predetermined pre-wired that anytime a legend shows up, no matter the age, no matter how long they've been away, no matter what they did, every time a legend shows up, they are better than everybody else in the company at that point in time. And then my thing is everyone reflects to the Attitude Era, the Attitude Era, the Attitude Era. You know what made the Attitude Era special? Is it rode on the back of the new stars. And anytime they were going against the legends on a rival company. So there
Yeah.
was no
Yeah.
let's bring back Hogan, let's bring back Savage, let's bring back these big names. It was let's ride on the backs of what we have right now. And then every time we're told there's a new era, you want us to invest in these stars, you want us to invest in these people. But then every time you feel you're not getting a big enough reaction because you're not doing a good job with your story and booking, you insert an old school legend who comes in and makes the entire roster look like they're not even trying.
And here's what I'll say about that. I will agree with you with that because sometimes with their use of legends kind of diminishes the younger talent. The
It
best
ruined
case,
Cody. Cody's
the
now fighting for half the audience because he had to go against The Rock before he even won a championship.
in the best case scenario, them using the legends well was at the Raw in Philadelphia, the Raw 30 show.
Yeah.
They didn't have the legends look as if they were better. They were kind of more or less the same. None of the legends really put their hands on anyone except when the Undertaker like shoved LA Knight into Bray Wyatt. That was like just the perfect way. Like if anything, the legends just tried to elevate the new talent.
Mhm.
Um,
Elevate is the key
and
word. Randy Orton's a legend because he is the legend killer.
yeah, and
Braun Breaker getting smashed by The Undertaker did nothing for Braun Breaker.
yeah, and we did a live watch along. I did a live watch along on Tony's channel while that was
Mhm.
happening, and I think a lot of people thought that NXT was better because it had Cena and Taker and Cody on it. As far as like more of just like a shock value, like kind of segment wise, I think WWE probably had a better thing, but AEW just said, we're going to do our in ring work, what we do
Yeah.
best. And they had I remember them having banger of matches on that
Mhm.
show. Just to circle back to the Undertaker, though, the one thing I will say is under different like creatives, like if this was a creative team from like 5 years ago, I feel like the legend like of Undertaker coming out would have been worse to where Undertaker would have been tombstoning Roman and then dragging Cody over. I'm thankful at least that the only thing he did was attack The Rock.
Yeah.
I will say that because I do think it could have been way worse. Um, but I will agree with you at that point that, you could have had LA Knight, Owens, and Zayn come out there, At least if they even were going to do the Undertaker thing, imagine if The Rock was maybe surrounded by these guys. There was no other bloodline members standing up, and he's like ready. He's gonna act like he's gonna take them all on, and then the freaking gong went off. Like that would have been like kind of okay, but I think that the role was probably for Austin. I mean, Taker said it on a show that he was a last minute thing. So
It showed.
yeah, like he
But
wasn't
what I'm
in
saying is you
wasn't
put a
in
2-year
gear or
together
anything.
storyline, and that's the button you put on it. Like, it just didn't
Yeah.
sit right with me. Yeah.
What did you think of and after like the Taker thing, um, when Roman hit Seth with the chair, my boss, you remember my boss, Mike Marino, he
Yeah.
watched WrestleMania because he was like, "Man, The Rock's back. I gotta watch it." He sent me like a meme of Seth Rollins, like it's like I'm doing my part, I'm doing my part, and it's like Seth's thing is like I didn't do anything, but the way that they kind of played it off after you watched it was like Roman chose his revenge than hitting Cody to retain the title. I thought that was pretty good stuff, man.
Yeah. I think you put more thought into it than WWE did. I just think they couldn't allow Roman to get touched because it would have diminished Cody. Because if somebody would have hit Roman, then Cody would have gotten the win over a guy who was just hit by an outside interference. And visually, that's not what you want to do. But it was enough to distract to get Cody back to his feet.
I think too is that when by Roman hitting him with like that chair, they had a match 2 years before at the Rumble where one of the matches that Roman actually lost in his title run, it was by DQ, but it was because Roman got so mad. And
Hmm.
they kinda made it seem like it was a deep-rooted anger thing
Yeah.
because they tried to play it off like the Shield were family, that kinda thing. So, I think once it, like, all settled in, um, I some people might call me, like, a sucker for it, I don't care. To me, it just felt like I personally felt like, "Man, we're living in one of the best eras of professional wrestling."
Oh, no,
And
no doubt about it.
and it's not just WWE for me. I know people will say, "Oh, AEW doesn't do story, blah blah blah, whatever." I don't care.
If you don't think
AEW
AEW does story,
puts
you don't watch it week in and week out. That's just the
a
truth.
yeah, and AEW is giving us. I mean, AEW gave us Sting's retirement, which wouldn't have happened.
Hmm.
It wouldn't have existed. We got John Moxley on a big stage and all these different stars on a big stage. I mean, I don't get like so I understand why some people hate it because they're just like WWE, they're WWE through and through. But man, if you just look at the whole landscape of the business, things are so good right now. So to
Hmm.
me, it just felt like wow, like this pro wrestling scene, and even when I went to Impact's put on a great show. I went like but when was it? It was I think it was July 6th, I think. I forget when it
10,300
was.
2,300
Um,
arena.
yeah, yeah. I
They got
was
a
at the
great roster.
yeah, like they have so much going for them right now. Like I feel like a lot of companies are flourishing. Is there like bad stuff? Yeah, there's still bad stuff, but not everything's going to be perfect. But
Yeah,
I
you still
just
have
think
NWA,
I just
which
think
sucks because there's a lot of good people there too.
I just think like there's just so much good going on that like I think people they wanna just hate on it, and it's like, bro,
It
like take a step back.
the problem is I actually completely disconnected myself from like TikTok and Twitter when it comes to talking wrestling with most people. Unless we're willing to get on a camera and talk to face like this,
Mhm,
I'm not gonna discuss wrestling with a lot of people. I understand that I'm not someone who is trained. I'm not someone who is a legend or someone who, but I have been on the other side of the guardrail, so I have a little bit of a different understanding of professional wrestling. I have sat numerous times with wrestling talent who have been in WWE, AEW, TNA for more than 4 hours at a clip to
mhm.
uh, to do this. You know what I mean? Like, so I've had conversations where I'm very privy to things. So it's hard for me to have conversations with the casual fan who only listens to what Jim Cornette has to say and then hates AEW and says that they don't have a storyline. Um, because all of a sudden Triple H is in charge, they're pro WWE and everything else sucks. It's hard to have those conversations, but you're 100% right. That wrestling right now is better than it's ever been. and it's flourishing from the top to the bottom. The independent scene's growing, more people are getting recognized.
Yeah.
It's fun that guys like Jacob Fatu and are getting recognized and getting a platform because people like myself were raving over this guy for 6 years. You know what I mean? Like, there's a guy in the
Dude,
independent scene you should be watching. He's good. There's a guy coming up, Lance. You should be
yeah.
watching Lance on Hawaii. Like guys like who else is like? There's a bunch of names that are popping off right now that you're like, get ready. Like
Dude,
it's gonna get
Fatu's
fun.
title run in MLW. I went to a lot of those MLW shows.
Hmm.
He was the tribal chief before the tribal chief, in my
Yeah,
opinion. Like if how I mean, he would. I can't say some of the things, but like he would talk like trash like no one else could. And
yeah,
I hope that WWE let him do that a little bit cuz he was so good at that. Like when he would just like talk, and I'm not even talking on a microphone. I'm talking mid-match. He would just yell like just he was so good at doing that trash talk. And I'm really happy that he is in WWE because he is a guy that we watched on the independent scene
hmm,
and just amazed by the athleticism, the things that he can do, but like he just he breathes superstar. You know what I mean? Like
yeah,
he has the aura. I know that's a popular term now. The aura of like a wrestler. And
yeah.
I'm glad that he's getting that spotlight.
And he's relatable. He seems like an everyday Joe. He has
Yeah.
the same characteristics that people love Eddie Kingston. Eddie Kingston is the realest dude you'll see. Like when he speaks on a microphone, his promos hit harder because he seems he not seems he is legitimate. He is legitimately a nice guy, but you don't want to mess with him. And that's essentially Jacob. Like everyone has like every single person I've ever seen have an interaction with Jacob love him to death. Like he's
Yeah.
just a really, really down to earth, humble dude. But also he can be very scary. You know what I mean? But
Yeah.
outside of that, he's genuine and he connects to people on a completely different level. And I think the only thing that makes me fear him being in WWE is if they let him off the chain, he is going to become one of the most popular superstars in the company. And sometimes in that old school WWE mentality, it's hard to rewire your brain, but if you get over before you're supposed to, sometimes it doesn't always work out in your favor.
Well, yeah, that definitely was old WWE mentality.
It is,
And
but it isn't. Look at LA Knight.
yeah, LA Knight to me was the biggest difference in like someone can get over now and like they'll still be used pretty properly. I don't know if there's any other example for other than LA Knight maybe. I mean, I don't know. So I'm trying to think of someone as over as him.
Dom,
Um
but the Dom's starting to lose
Dom?
his
Yeah.
luster. Like the crowd doesn't react to Dom the same the way had they used to.
Yeah. Yeah. Um in
I
which
think
they got
they should have struck a little hot, more harder on the iron with Dom when they had that bigger pop.
look what Austin said. To be honest, Fatu is the only reason like he's really interested in this bloodline thing. And I gotta be honest with you, Fatu, you know, he looked like a monster the night they debuted him. And he still does. And we're just scratching the surface
Mhm.
of what Jacob Fatu can do in ring wise because I'm ready for him to hit that moonsault, man. I don't think he's hit it yet, but if you put him in a singles match against Cody Rhodes, like they're just gonna have a straight up banger. Like
Mhm.
anyone you put in the ring with Fatu, it's gonna be a pretty good match. Um, so they do have Solo Sokoa and Cody Rhodes coming up at SummerSlam for the WWE Championship. One of the things that do having the title, since we're talking about bloodline things, is Roman Reigns returning at SummerSlam. I have a feeling now that it is going to happen. I know you haven't been too up to date on what's going on with WWE right now, but I know you can probably sense it that eventually they are going to pull the trigger on Roman Reigns coming back. But I did want to ask you, do you think that it'll be Roman Reigns or The Rock coming back at SummerSlam? Because WWE could decide to throw a curveball in there and have The Rock come back because I'm assuming they are going to do Cody and The Rock because they basically put a bookmark there. at the night after WrestleMania on Raw and said that he would be back, but he's going to go away for a little while. He gave him something, um, and that was kind of it. So I'm wondering, do you think we get Rock now? Do you think we get him down the road? Or do you think we get Roman now? Or we get Roman Reigns
Rock
down the
first,
road?
then Roman.
Okay. Why do you think
Uh,
that?
I think the story is The Rock comes back and says, "Where is your tribal chief? He's here. This is
Hmm.
us. This is." And then Solo even maybe, you know, I'm the tribal chief, but hey, you're back. You're the like, you know what I mean? Kind of setting up that faction. Maybe even adding somebody else. I know they talked about Hikuleo maybe joining that side of the bloodline and making this really fierce, scary team. But I think definitely Rock comes back first to start planting seeds and getting the crowd riled up and pissed off. So then when Roman returns, he returns at this giant babyface run. And my brother just said it, kind of said it in the chat, as well as E1 Kid can agree. The Bloodline ones are rumored to be dropping in November. So I
Hmm.
think I don't think you see Roman until maybe Mania, maybe if they do that War Games pay-per-view or Survivor Series around that time, where I think you're going to get a Bloodline War Games. I think you're going to get two cages. I think you're going to lock the cell, and I think you're going to have one side of a Bloodline versus the other side of the Bloodline in a War Games.
Yeah, and you know, I posted a video, it wasn't that long ago, about how I would do The Rock coming back, and I said something similar. I think The Rock would come back before Roman, and I would almost love it if they do decide to have The Rock and Cody at WrestleMania 41, and you kind of have the new bloodline that's destroying him. Maybe Jay and Jimmy reunite as the Usos. They come out, they get cut off, and then Roman Reigns comes back at WrestleMania in Las Vegas. I would love to see that. Due to the crowd reaction and because they got the shoes dropping and everything, I feel like he's going to come back sooner and then The Rock's going to come into things. But I would honestly, I'm okay with waiting, if I'm being honest. I wouldn't
Mhm.
mind waiting to see, Roman Reigns come back and get a big reaction at WrestleMania and help Cody Rhodes retain the title. I think
I think it's
honestly it would
the
come
Rock
full
coming back
circle.
talking shit, talking crap, and then the
Mhm.
crowd chanting, we want Roman," and let that
Yeah.
stew and let that build, and then the
Yeah.
day it drops, you know what I mean? And even start setting up the pieces, like the Uso brothers get together. Maybe they bring in Lance. Maybe they start forming this thing, but they're just one member shy. They're one member shy, and you're like, well, when is this new? When is Roman gonna like solidify this? And then leading up to Survivor Series, because like I said, it's team versus team, leading into that storyline and getting the Survivor Series is when the music hits, and then Paul
Yeah.
walks out first, and then Roman like it just it's it. But you need the Rock to like if you're gonna use the Rock, use him properly. The Rock is there to take the fall, like, and he's there
Yeah,
to
he
take
would
the
take
fall
the
to
fall.
Roman.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then you have the Survivor Series match, and then it leads into hopefully a WrestleMania match with no WWE. Look at me right here, WWE, with no title implications. You don't need a belt for Roman Rock.
Yeah, you don't. You don't. Yeah. They messed up. I will even tell you this,
And
when
doesn't the Netflix deal happen?
I think they start January. Yeah. Oh, now I froze on OBS. Let me fix that. Um, you're fine. Yeah, it was just mine. Sometimes it glitches out. It has trouble. It's just I think it might be the SDI cable. Yeah, I think that's internationally. We still have Peacock till 2026, I think. Because I think internationally they still have the WWE network, but that's going to probably be cut off soon. I will say when you mentioned that, Cody and Roman turning into The Rock and Roman, I wasn't going to go to WrestleMania night 2. I was literally just gonna go to night 1 and then call it that. It kinda pissed me off. I'm not gonna say I was a Cody crybaby, but I guess ABJ is frozen. I'm sorry. I don't know why that happened. Why is he frozen now? What is going on here, guys?
Work out the kinks. We'll get it going soon.
There we go. Now he's fine. Um, but I forgot well, oh, right.
Yeah.
Rock and Roman happening at WrestleMania 40. Um, that to me, like I said, I wouldn't consider myself a Cody crybaby, but when that happened, I was like, what is the story then you've been telling throughout 2023? If you were gonna do this match, you would have had Cody win the belt, or you
Yeah.
would have just did the Rock and Roman at WrestleMania 39. Like that
You, you
would have
know,
been
you know what's
good.
the funniest part is everyone like the WWE loyalists, and I'm not trying to be tribalistic or start a war here, but the WWE loyalists will turn around and say, AEW has no storylines, but then
Mhm.
turn around and only care about one storyline in WWE. You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
it almost has to be simple. Like there could be other things going on in WWE, but they only care about like one, maybe one women's match or one bloodline storyline. Like the fact that Cody had his story, but it was rivaling against Roman's story. It was like, I hate it. I got to pick one, and the other one has to suck. And like they
Yeah.
have division within their own things. You know what I'm saying? And like, I don't know. It's interesting how each company is setting together a storyline thing. And honestly, the biggest reason why I have a hard time watching weekly wrestling right now for me is the recaps. Like I tune into Raw and it's here's what happened last week and here's what happened the week before and here's another recap and then a promo and then a promo and then a match and then they book a match that's like here's a really exciting match and then the match happens and ends in a smudge because they can't take a loss because it has to continue the story and it's just like
Mhm.
that's formula has been beaten into me so much I don't even look forward to tuning into weekly wrestling when it comes to WWE side and then because the pay-per-view comes and then the pay-per-view happens and they recap everything before every match. So I don't even need to watch weekly wrestling because they're going to catch me all up the night
They
of the
got
pay-per-view.
the promo
Yeah.
package in the
And
yeah.
I don't feel rewarded as a wrestling fan by not like I can watch the highlights on YouTube and I can watch the pay-per-view and get caught up fully. Even NXT in its heyday. I didn't watch weekly NXT. I would just wait for the takeover. The
The
takeover would
takeover,
catch me
yeah.
up and then I still didn't feel like I missed a beat.
I think I would say that I do watch Raw, and that's like the one thing I will watch every single week, um, like consistently wise, right?
Yeah. If my
And
streaming service works, then I'll watch AEW. Like, I missed yesterday's show. I'll probably gonna watch it when we get off here.
yeah, which I heard Osprey and MJF had a banger of a match. I need to watch that.
Mhm.
Um, what I will say is that for me, when the pandemic happened, right, and wrestling was the only thing on, it was like, man, Monday Night Raw kind of sucks.
Yeah.
Like, there's just storylines were really bad. It just wasn't really the best show. There is still the issues of like, you know, they're gonna do an interference here because they're gonna do a triple threat or that kind of thing. But I will say that the show has been actually more enjoyable than SmackDown, and I think it's just because that the promos that they do have, like I watched Damian Priest and Gunther cut a promo together, and on paper, you would probably want these guys in the ring more than you would want them to do a promo, but
Yeah.
they actually had a really like good back and forth, and I'm
Yeah.
really buying like Priest as the champion. And I think um, WWE sometimes I love like a lot of produced stuff because when there's someone that has a vision behind it, there's a lot of things that can be done greatly. And to WWE's credit, they've drawn back from things being a little too overly produced. And I think one of the drawbacks that they still need to do is just the constant replays. I will say
Mhm.
that like this is what happened last week or whatever, or this is a video package. Like I think some of that time could be used to build maybe a new star up, like, give them a video package if they're not wrestling on the show, or more
Or just
time for the match.
let the match tell the story. Like that
That
like,
too,
honestly,
yeah.
that's what AEW does. Like, everyone's like, "Well, I don't understand anything that's happening in AEW." It's like, well, the big storyline in AEW is Will Ospreay, Daniel Bryan. That's the overall arc, is what Danielson or Ospreay. That's what they're building to. And the
Mhm.
Tiger Driver 99. That's a whole storyline, and they're not talking about it, and they're not throwing it in your face. It's there. They're just dropping it. Bink, 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 and then eventually he wins the Owen Hart Cup. He's gonna go. Danielson's gonna go against Strickland at All In. I think Danielson wins the title. I think Osprey finds a way to get back to Danielson, and then we have that thing, and then but Danielson's gonna have a run. But I think Danielson takes the AEW championship to that All In style show in Japan, and I think Danielson finally wrestles in the Tokyo Dome wearing an AEW championship. I think we're getting that whole thing. I think then the story with the Elite and Kenny coming back, and you're gonna get a Kenny Okada. Like there's so many different stories and building that's going on there that they don't throw it in your face or have to remind you every 5 seconds on commentary and have to show you highlight reel after highlight reel after highlight reel. Sometimes WWE tells you it's going to happen before it happens because they show you 4 replays of everything that happened the week before, right before they drop the big surprise to you.
Yeah, and I'm wondering, for for some for some people, I'm kind of wondering, do you think that when it comes to AEW, because we're in a day and age where like a lot of people have trouble like focusing on one thing. Like
Mhm.
at the swipe of a button, we just go through 1,000 reels a day. Like, you know what I mean? We're just always on social
Yeah.
media. Do you think for some people that I guess we'll say casual or whatever, that casually watch AEW and they're kind of like, well, what's the story here? But it's just something that's more so that's long brewing.
Yeah.
I
But the
wonder.
funny fan is the same fans who do stuff like that will gush over New Japan and how good it is, but New Japan does the same thing. They tell a story within the ring, like,
Yeah.
oh well, last time they wrestled, he used this move, and then like the next time they do it, they set up the move, and it's like, oh my god, it's a callback. Like, you know what I mean? Like, people love that stuff, but the problem is there's too many people who listen to veteran wrestling personalities who are bitter they're not hired and not bitter they don't have a job and think everything that when they did it was the greatest of all time, and now that when they're not doing it, it's not good, and all they do is go on podcasts and their social medias and they crap on every company. But because WWE is now TKO owned and they have $1 billion organization, no one's talking crap on them because everybody wants the what if possibility if they can get invited back to the company. So if the best way to get invited back to the $1 billion company who's owned by the biggest media conglomerate is to crap on their competitor, and unfortunately that competitor is AEW, and that's exactly what's happening. You have your Bishops and all your people that just trash on AEW, and all these people who eventually want to go back because right now WWE is in a juggernaut position. They're in a juggernaut position. There's nothing they can do that's wrong. Like they really have to drop the ball, and even if they do, I don't think it matters. Like their former owner of the company is still pending trafficking charges. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? Like, and nobody cares. Nobody cares. It's not even a big deal because they control the media. Every celebrity who shows up that's under the TKO that's promoting the new album, every UFC star who's like, there's such a huge umbrella that the WWE is now under TKO that they're just getting the positive news stories. And when you're that popular, your competitor is going to take the heat for that. And that's
Yeah.
exactly where AEW is
I
right now. It's
I
not
think
cool to like AEW.
I think that, when it comes to uh, when it comes to the people that are in the business that are either, like, creators or they're just veterans, um, I do think that there are people that they'll kinda do, like, what you're kinda talking about, where they kinda just, like, hate watch it,
Mhm.
and I don't like that. I like the people that just kinda are straight up about both companies.
Yeah.
Um, now
Do I think AEW is perfect? Absolutely not. There's a lot of
yeah,
stuff they're
yeah,
doing that I can't stand. But
mhm.
I think if you're an entertainment fan, WWE is your thing. If you're a pro wrestling fan, AEW is your thing.
Well, honestly, at this point, I mean, I look at it this way: is like for a while, DC wasn't like good, right?
Mhm.
But then they came out with the Batman. I think WWE kind of became Marvel, right? And then AEW rose, kind of like how DC kind of they got James Gunn in there. They're gonna have some good stuff coming out soon. Um, AEW kind of rose up in these 5 years, and I almost just think like for a while the word pro wrestling was like a dirty word
Mhm.
under like that different administration in WWE, but now you can just openly freely they can openly like say it. They can talk about Ring of Honor if they want to. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like they can actually mention they won't mention AEW, which I don't really understand why. I mean, I kind of get it, but at the same time, I'm like, if you're going to mention New Japan, Ring of Honor, you might as well just mention AEW, but
Hmm.
whatever. But my point being is that at least now I feel for what pro wrestling has become that before, if you were to ask me that, like, if you were to say that 2 years ago, I would have been like, "I totally agree with you," because the creative was so bad in WWE. Now I feel like they do lean a lot more into the pro wrestling thing, but they still have your, like, movie style kinda, "Here's a trailer for this," instead
Hmm.
of sometimes just going into the match, which I kinda do prefer sometimes going into the match. But then other times I'm like, "Wow, this is a nice package," but it's probably just the video guy in me too.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely. Yeah.
um, but yeah, I think we got off on this tangent because we were talking about how good wrestling is now.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
um, and the one thing I did want to talk about is because I did call this WWE has a lot of bad blood. Which the one thing we will talk about today is Punk and Rollins and McIntyre. Before we get out of here, um, I want to mention something to you that I think might resonate with you. Um, I wasn't alive for it, obviously. Not calling you old, but I just wasn't alive for it. 97 SummerSlam, Undertaker, Bret Hart, Shawn Michaels was a special guest referee. Michaels hit Taker with a chair on accident, which started their rivalry, which ended up in bad blood. Very iconic match and a very iconic setup to what they did inside of Hell in a Cell at the In Your House Bad Blood pay per view. Um,
Which is still the
okay.
best Hell in a Cell match, even though someone didn't get thrown off the top of it. Just saying.
You know, I love that first one. Um, I will say my favorite Hell in a Cell match. I know he's a lot of legal issues right now, but just talking about the time period and all that, I loved when Taker fought Brock in 2002.
Yeah, that was a good
They
one.
had a crazy, like, but it was in the cage too, like, they
Mhm.
didn't go outside or anything. Like, Undertaker did a suicide dive in that match. Like, it's just a like, that if you go back and watch that, that's a crazy
It's
Hell
a
in a
good one.
Cell. But that
Yeah.
first one is iconic, and there's not a
First was
lot
my favorite. The
you can't
debut of
top
Kane,
that.
like,
Yeah, where he rips the door off. Oh, yeah,
unbelievable.
it's too iconic. Anyway, to kinda get to where I was going, you have Punk and McIntyre, who are, like, in my opinion, they're having rivalry of the year, and the reason why I say that is because it's literally just like 2 Twitter trolls going at it. It's out pettying the other, which I love. And they haven't even wrestled each other yet. But now they're incorporating Rollins into it, which we were supposed to get Punk and Rollins at WrestleMania. Punk got hurt, so it went to Rollins and McIntyre. And Rollins was still involved with the World Heavyweight Championship. That's how McIntyre won it. Um, and now he's coming back into it because Rollins basically was cost. He can't challenge for that world championship as long as Priest has the belt. And that was also because of CM Punk. I'm wondering almost. I posted it on the channel a little bit ago under the community tab a few days ago. I'm wondering almost, are we going to get some kind of a triple threat? Do we get some kind of special referee thing? It's kind of reminding me like shades of that time period where there was so like Brett and Sean had that feud, but
Who's
then
Brett? Who's Sean
Taker,
right now?
um, Sean's got to be Punk.
Which is hilarious
McIntyre's,
because Sean because Punk is such a Brett guy.
yeah, and McIntyre's Brett, and then I think Taker in this situation would be Rollins. So I almost think that we may get something. I know that Austin does make a good point. They did break the gentleman's agreement, but it was when they did that promo at the beginning of the show, that's one of the
Priest
reasons
is
why
not gonna
Rollins
make
was
it past
mad.
Gunther, so that
Yeah.
agreement's gonna go out the window.
Yeah. And Priest did say, because of the interference, I'm going to give you another shot after I beat Gunther. So they kind of did move past the agreement, which, again, that's a good point. But still, Punk did cost Seth Rollins the world title.
Mhm.
Um, and I'm wondering
Just to spite Drew.
almost exactly. And I'm wondering almost, do we get a triple threat, or does WWE decide to do Punk and McIntyre at SummerSlam and have Seth be the referee to set up? Because everyone thinks right now that it might be Punk and McIntyre inside of like a Hell in a Cell at Bad Blood. Do you think that Rollins does something to cost Punk, and maybe they kind of make him a little tweener and they do a Hell in a Cell match?
I think Rollins isn't gonna be in the picture with this.
Really?
I think that was a drop. I think the Rollins thing's a drop. I think Rollins is gonna work with other stories and figure something out soon. I think the stories in Drew and Punk, and I think they're gonna work this angle for a minute, and I think it's gonna work up to eventually one of them wins the championship, probably Punk. I think Punk the end. I'm kind of booking to Mania, but I think Punk finds a way to win the championship and takes it into WrestleMania. And I think the overall arcing story of these three will end with Seth versus Punk in at Mania 1-on-1.
I could see that. Wonder why we're not getting the. I guess this froze too because I was trying to put the chat up. But
Yeah.
Austin said actions have consequences, and that's what Rollins said to Punk. Now that is a good point, but the one thing I do want to point to, no pun intended, is
Mhm.
that Rollins came out to save Adam Pearce because McIntyre was going to attack Adam Pearce for the whole suspension thing. Let's see if we fix the. There we go. We got it back up now. Um, he was gonna, try to apologize to the referees. McIntyre didn't want to do that, and Rollins came out to make that save. So I'm wondering, do they keep, Rollins in this feud? Because realistically, SummerSlam, there's not too many opponents that are really open for him to have a program with so short a notice. So I'm wondering, do they make
What
him the ref and he
they can
accidentally
also
screws over
do
Punk?
they can do Punk versus Rollins at SummerSlam, and a suspended Drew McIntyre like so Drew has to start getting the leg up on Punk a little bit here and start screwing him out of some stuff. So
Yeah.
I think that's where it's going to start going, and I think possibly Mania is a triple threat. Who knows? But um, I think the story now I can definitely see him going Punk and Seth because Drew's now suspended. He can't be around, so that opens up Punk, that opens up a returning Punk, and it opens up Rollins. They kind of feud for a while. Then Punk, maybe even Rumble. Punk's about to win the Rumble, and Drew screws him out of it. You know what I mean?
That's a
And
a great point also, and hearing Rollins call back, it was electric because that's Punk said the exact same thing to McIntyre, actually, that actions have consequences.
yeah,
So, oh, wow, that just made me even like it a lot more.
yeah.
Um,
And the biggest problem with all this, it's more entertaining than the world title picture.
oh, for 100%. I mean,
Yeah,
I always looked at it as, whenever you got Punk in there and what they've been doing with McIntyre. I mean, this is like the storyline that's been guiding Raw along through the summer, which I've loved. And it's not to discredit like Priest as the world champion because I think he is doing good work with the title. I like the presentation with him as the world champion, but I do think I don't want to call him a transitional champion because he has held the title for a while, but I
they're
think
trying to
they
make it
are
seem like he's not, but he is.
he's gonna drop the belt to Gunther
Yes,
at SummerSlam, and that's the right call. And I think Judgment Day screws him over.
yes. And then
And
Gunther's going to be also a transitional champion because everyone's
we
clamoring for Gunther to be champion, but he's not going to hold it very long. You think Gunther's the world champion going into WrestleMania?
I think they can pull that off. I do. I think that they can have him hold the world championship. I mean,
So do you think
okay.
Gunther can gravitate a strong enough story that can rival Punk Rollins and Drew McIntyre with no title all the way until Mania?
Well, I think it
I
also could.
don't.
I think it could be said. You know, you've had McIntyre. He wanted to be the world champion. Rollins was the world champion. Their storyline already kind of has had the world championship involved with it so much that at this point, I would rather see fresh faces in that world title scene. So to
But
me,
you're kind of
oh
also
god,
doing a thing where like Swerve Strickland's your champion. but he's not really wrestling your top guys in your company. He's wrestling
Mhm.
the higher second tier card guy, and you're caring more about other people in their roster because they're bigger draws. So you have your bigger draws and storylines, and then your world champion doesn't seem as valuable because he's not beating top people.
Yeah, I think that's a fair point too to make. I almost think that maybe they do Gunther and Rollins at Survivor Series. Like they'll include those guys in it a little bit. I almost, when it comes to this rivalry, I think they are going to have to eventually like fight. Obviously, that's what it's brewing to. But I'm also not really sold. I love CM Punk. I don't think he should be world champion. It might be a hot take, but like I just really don't want to see him with a
CM
belt,
Punk is
you know.
going to be a world champion at a main event at professional in WrestleMania at some point very, very soon. He talked too much
Maybe.
crap to not be that, unless Drew screws him out of a Mania moment this year. Like, that's if you really want to stretch this out. The one thing Punk has cried about the whole time he was in the company, the whole time he was out of the company, is how do you not have a guy like me in your main event of WrestleMania? I'm the best of the guys ever been in that company. And
Mhm.
then he finally is about to get it, and Drew screw. Like, Punk does all this stuff to screw Drew, and then Punk's about to get his WrestleMania main event, and Drew screws him out of it.
And that's why I think that, maybe they do something they do something
Do do.
like that. But I think that adding Rollins to it is gonna add another layer, and that layer is gonna add more so time for maybe Punk and McIntyre not to be in a ring together so much that maybe they get, um, a Punk and Rollins match at Bad Blood, and that's like the big match for Bad Blood. And maybe you can have McIntyre instead be like, well, he's your problem now. I got what I wanted if he beats Punk at SummerSlam, and then he wrestles Gunther for the world
Yeah.
title. I think that that could be something, and maybe you know, th- I do have faith in what y- Triple H and them have done. So I think in a way they could do something where they have McIntyre and Gunther for the world title, and somehow this Rollins and Punk beef like gets in the way of that too.
I'll say
Um,
one thing. Say what you want about
but
CM Punk, but anytime the guy's in charge of creative, it's good.
oh yeah,
This story's gonna be great.
I think ABJ's Wi-Fi. Oh no. Oh, did my Wi-Fi go out? Uh-oh.
Or is he in deep thought? Or did I freeze? Oh, there he
Are we
goes.
I think
Okay.
we're good.
We're
Are
good.
we good? I think the stream I think I on my end, it actually buffered for a minute, but we're good.
Yeah.
We're good.
Yeah, we're good to go.
Um, what was I gonna say now? Wasn't there you talked about the Taker and Mick Foley Hell in a Cell, right?
Yeah.
Didn't that wasn't the main event of the show, because the main event of the show was Austin and Kane.
Mhm.
Didn't Taker and Foley still come out in the main event?
Maybe?
Because I feel like they interfered in the match because that's how Austin bled, because it was a first blood match.
It's possible. It's been so long. All I
Yeah,
remember is Mick getting thrown off the top and Dr. Frank pulling his teeth out of his nose.
I mean, that is an iconic shot, but it's a very hard match to follow after that, by the way.
Oh, yeah.
Um, but I feel like, you know, this is a very new era of WWE, but in a way, with the storytelling, it's almost like it's history repeating itself a little bit, but with these characters now that are the larger than life stars of this era, like it was in Attitude Era or Ruthless Aggression Era a little bit. Like, I don't know. I feel like WWE could do something special with that. And I think they could do Gunther as world champion of WrestleMania.
You gotta give him an opponent that people care about. And I don't see that right now. That's the problem with Priest right now. There's nobody going against Priest that people care enough about that they think Priest's gonna do it. And they're trying to do it with Gunther, but then once you get past Gunther with Priest, and then where do you go?
Would think also Priest is they're changing his character to be more of a baby face. Um So I think while the switch is happening real time, right? It's slowly, but it's progressing to him just being a straight up heel in Judgment Day to being more of a likable guy. I think Gunther, like he did with the Intercontinental title, he's just gonna be a straight up heel. Like he's gonna chop you, he's gonna destroy you, pick you limb from limb, and claim to be like a wrestling world champion. So I think him as world champion, people are gonna naturally hate just because he is the ring general, that kind of
Mhm.
deal. So I think they will get more out of that because they're switching Damian right now. But I don't know who you put him in the ring with at WrestleMania. Um, it's a good question. I mean, I don't know. I think it's too soon for Dragunov. I'd love Kevin
Please do not,
Owens.
please do not put Dragunov as a world champion in the main roster.
Well,
He was a dud. Like, he's a great wrestler, but
mhm.
outside of being a good wrestler, he's a dud.
What do you how so? What do you mean?
You think he has charisma to be a world champion on a top tier level? Like when his NXT run, like when he cut promos and stuff, he was boring.
I think a lot of a lot of his like character stuff is when he's in the ring. I don't necessarily think he is the best when it comes to mic work.
So
Um,
do you
okay.
like under he's undersized, right?
Hmm.
He sells really well. He's flashy, but is he Daniel Bryan?
I don't think he's an underdog,
Yeah, what I'm saying,
but he is an
he doesn't
underdog
have
in
the
a
Daniel
way. But yeah,
Bryan charisma to be the undersized guy to win a championship, and he's not a good enough heel to be Adam Cole to be the undersized champion. Like I think he's a very very good wrestler, but outside of that, like I
well,
don't see him being able to carry the torch like that. I
I
think he's a
don't
good mid card
think
champion.
I don't think Dragunov would beat Gunther at WrestleMania either,
Oh
which
no,
is the
I
other
think it'd be a
thing.
throwaway match.
If anything,
I think Pete Dunne would be more interesting, but once again, even with Pete Dunne, like his charisma is that he doesn't have any, I guess, but like because he just doesn't talk. But
I would
it's
like it if your brother Kevin Owens won the Royal Rumble and
I would
challenged
too, but
Gunther.
they better have something for him soon because isn't his contract coming up?
I think he resigned not that long ago.
Did he?
I can check real
Because
quick.
I'm really sick of seeing Kevin Owens being the stepping stone for the Bloodline storyline because the guy's too damn good, and then you get bored with him, and then you stick him in a tag team. Kevin's just so talented and he's so good in the mic, and he's essentially a stepping stone for everybody.
So there was a report in May. Um, WWE Kevin Owens WWE contract expires in 9 months, and he's not sure what comes next.
Yeah,
Um,
everything I've been reading, he has not resigned yet.
there's a lot of contracts that have been coming up lately. I mean, I'm sure you've seen those reports.
Sammy and Kevin are up around the same time. Becky, Seth, Drew, Sheamus. There's a
I
few,
mean,
yeah.
I guess it would be a sign-on bonus, but as far as Owens goes, I think it would be nice to get him away from the bloodline thing and move him over to Raw again. And I'm not saying have him
I think
team
it'd
with
be great for
Sammy,
Kevin. I think it'd be great
but
for Kevin to go over to AEW for a little bit. I'm gonna be honest.
it was
I
Kevin
think he's
Steen. Yeah.
yeah. I think he's done. I think him and Sammy have done all they can do in WWE.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
I think it'd be a nice shake up to see them in some new storylines and bring more of a Kevin Steen back.
I did put a short up not that long ago, and it was about like a trade between WWE and AEW. I said at the time Ricochet for Malachi Black. I would like to see Owens go to AEW and Alistair come to WWE again. Tommy End,
Yeah.
be in WWE again. But I'm just saying
I
hypothetically.
don't think that's a fair one-on-one trade. I think you'd give him Buddy Matthews, Malachi, and Keith Lee for Kevin Owens.
I mean, I don't know. I wouldn't
Kevin
mind.
Owens is a first round draft pick.
Yeah, yes, agreeable. But I think Malachi definitely has this still the potential to be a like a main eventer again. You know what I mean? I'm
Malachi and
saying
Buddy
one for
Matthews
one person.
would be good for morale with two other superstars that you have faith in. You want Rhea Ripley to be happy? Put her on the road with her husband. Do you want
Yeah, yeah,
Selena
true.
Vega to be happy? Bring her husband back.
Yeah. I could see that. And I mean, the only
And I
thing I
don't
think
think
they Oh, go ahead, sorry.
Ricochet. Do you think he's done in WWE?
It's a tough call, but I think at this point he's probably gonna go to AEW. I thought that maybe Money in the Bank he was gonna screw over Braun Breaker. But I think at this point he's probably gonna go to AEW. And I mean, good for him. I mean,
I
like it's
think
gonna be a
I
new
think he's gonna
opportunity,
do
you
a
know?
Cardona deal. I think he goes to AEW for a couple matches and then he's gone. I think he's going out there to put his name over. I think you could see him show up at TNA, and
Okay.
I think he goes from TNA back to WWE. I don't. I think the intention for Ricochet long haul is to go out there, get your name over, but his overall goal is to work his way back because you don't send a guy away with a storyline with a Braun Breaker the way you did, and then boost Braun Breaker up for Rick. You're boosting Braun Breaker up to possibly be IC champion or do something big, and then for a Ricochet to come back.
I also think right now with WWE, by the way, what's up, Raz? I also think with WWE right now, it's very main event top heavy,
Hmm.
you know, because I just don't see Cody losing the belt like anytime soon. You know what I mean? Especially after a reign like Roman had. I think he at least holds it for at least a year before he drops anything, you know? So
I
it's
would
oh good.
agree, but I also would disagree because I think the way you have Cody going right now, everyone's saying he's boring and everyone's saying he's this and everyone's saying he's that. I think you got to put somebody next to Cody, and I think you got to make Cody chase a little bit. I think the money for Cody's in the chase.
I could see that, but
Cody's telling a story with the bloodline that nobody cares about because they just want Roman to come back. And then when Roman comes back, where do you leave yourself with Cody?
true, true. I mean, I think they're gonna align themselves to do Cody and Randy, which I think people are gonna have high interest in, but you're also leaving out Kevin Owens then.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to put the
So
title anywhere near Kevin Owens, which is upsetting me, but it is what it is.
I honestly I wouldn't mind seeing him beat Gunther at WrestleMania. But again, if he decides to leave and not re-sign, I'm not gonna hate it if he goes to AEW. That's why I don't get
Yeah,
like Edge went to AEW. And
he's awesome.
he's gonna have these great I mean, he already has had great matches, but he's gonna have these great matches when he comes back from injury. People are like, "Oh, he shoulda just stayed in WWE." Why? Like
The Christian and Adam Copeland story is just getting started. He's just an
yeah.
idiot and jumped off the top of a freaking cell feet first. Like what?
That did look pretty ugly. That did
Why
look
would you
ugly.
do that?
I was kinda scared when I saw that happen when I watched that match. Um, but yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, I always kinda say this too as we kinda, wrap things up here is like it's great to be a fan of professional wrestling, right? And the things that we talk about that we might have like critiques of, we're not saying it because we have ill will towards these guys or anything. It's just like it's a fun thing to talk about and speculate
Mhm.
and wrestling. But I especially know for Blackwell as well, like we're at the end of the day, these are just like people, and like
Yeah,
they're putting their bodies on the line. Some of them are doing those WWE, AEW travel schedules, and some people are doing the independent grind, which is a very big grind to do when you're an independent wrestler. So we appreciate like the business and everyone that stepped in the ring for it. But it is fun to talk about these things. And if you're a fan that like is watching this that just wants to hate watch, like bro, get over it. Like get
if
over
you love an
yourself.
industry so much, why would you? Like I said, we've had negative feedback, but at the end of the day, we're still saying watch. Like we still
Yeah.
watch. You know what I mean? Uh, if you want an outside person to get into your industry, the worst thing you could do is crap on it. You know what I mean? And stop listening to the people that don't have jobs in the industry anymore who just get paid to hate monger it, like your Eric Bischoffs and your Jim Cornettes, and just it is what it is. Uh, spoiler alert: when Jim Cornette was a booker, there was some pretty bad stuff. Just putting it out there. He wasn't amazing at everything he did, but the guy sits there and tells you that he was. Um,
Same with
so
Russo and some of them guys. Yeah.
yeah, you know what I mean. It's just make your own opinion. Don't wait for somebody else on the internet to tell you what you to think about a wrestling show. Make your own opinion, have fun with it, and watch it. Speaking of wrestling, what are you doing
Good.
Friday night?
Friday night, what, tomorrow? Or are you
Mhm.
talking about um, I'm not sure yet.
I will be in Philly.
You will
There
be?
is a show called Wrestle Pit. It's gonna be a no ring wrestling show. So it's gonna be 3 bands. Band goes up and plays.
Okay.
Then the pit opens up and a fight happens in the pit. And then they do a match or two, then the pit closes back up and the bands play. And then the bands play a little bit and the pit opens up, wrestling match.
It sounds
Pit close.
interesting.
It's gonna be awesome. I will be there. So if you want to come and hang out, that will be actually I should probably pull up the ad. Well, not the ad, but the information. But it will be in Philadelphia. It's Pro Wrestling Explosion. We'll be doing a
Okay.
collaboration show with High Tension Wrestling. It'll be live music, no ring wrestling. Must be 21 or older to enter. You're still good. You're good at that right now.
I'm 21 now, yeah.
Yeah, you're good. July 19th, 8 p.m. at the Fire in 412 in Girard Avenue, Pennsylvania. So come on out and come hang out if you're in the Philadelphia area.
I'll have to see what I'm doing. I might be
Yeah,
forgetting something, but if I'm not doing anything, I'm kinda intrigued now by that. It
to
sounds
see a no pit,
sounds
no ring wrestling show. And then also I will be doing commentary tomorrow night at New Era Pro Wrestling, and that will be I should probably have that one ready too, and I don't. I'm terrible at this, guys. That's right.
it's
Nobody
all good.
watches my stuff anyway.
No, they do, they do. Steven Chambers in the chat. What's up, man? Big
New
shout out to
Era.
everyone in the chat tonight. Yeah, it's what happens when you're young, dude, and you look young. You always get carded. That's just what happens.
Yeah. It'll be July 20th at Jefferson Town's Lions Club, Lions Road, Lake Ariel, Pennsylvania. Tickets will be ringside of 20, general admission 15. Summer Meltdown for New Era Pro Wrestling. Follow them on all social media. I will be doing some commentary and
Sick.
also unveiling some new hardware courtesy of the TWF and
Oh.
Ruda Entertainment. So tune in and go follow me on social media to find out exactly what that new hardware is.
Yeah, I'm excited to see the beautiful hardware that comes about. ABJ, thank you so much for being there. We'll have to do it again. I liked our discussion.
I'm always available,
We had
brother.
a
Just
good one.
shoot me a thing, and I will definitely make I will make time for you and hang out.
And you know what? We had a few like minor issues, but we looked good tonight too.
Yeah.
Everything like went extremely well, which I was happy about. I was fully expecting the computer to explode, but we're good. We're good. Anything else you want to kind of throw in there before we get out of
This
here?
Sunday, every Sunday we try, unless there's pay-per-views or stuff, but every Sunday we do Tornado Tag. Myself and BP will be doing King of the Ring 95 this Sunday. I will be doing a movie review with Kim Rose called I Saw the TV Glow. It's a horror movie. Then I'll be back with Trixie Valentine, drag performer, drag queen, superstar, megastar,
Nice.
educator. Trixie Valentine will be on Tuesday to review Carrie. Then Thursday, if you're in the Pennsylvania area, come to Pilgrim Brewing Company, owned by Tony Deppen. Speedball Mike Bailey will be doing another episode of Fightertainment, which will be a live fight, no ring show in the no ring show fighter, not wrestling, at the brewery. It will be streamed live on Speedball Mike Bailey's Twitch channel, so you can go hang out there. Brewfest will be Saturday at the same brewery, middle of the street. They're going to set up a wrestling ring, and your Tony Deppen will be wrestling, I believe, Leo Sparrow. It'll be AXW joining up with Pilgrim Brewing Company to put on a wrestling show in the middle of a Brewfest.
Oh, wow.
Myself and BP will be on the call doing some commentary.
Nice.
Um, then we'll be back on that Sunday after for a What If series. What if King of the Ring 95 was good? Then Sammy Chaos will be on the podcast on Monday, and ending the month with former original member and original bass player of Taking Back Sunday, Eddie Reyes, will be on the podcast to close out the month of July. And then
So
I'm taking bookings for the next month, for August. So hit me up.
I'm assuming if the King of the Ring was good, it just wouldn't include Mabel in it at all.
If you look at that bracket of matches that were early on, you're like, oh, this is going to be amazing. Like Shawn Michaels, Undertaker, possibly to go to the finals.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's bad.
didn't happen at all. He was actually pretty good as Viscera when he did
I
the
think
whole love
Savio
gimmick.
Vega wrestled 4
but
times that night. Like, whoo.
wow, at least the '96 one, the right guy won, right?
Yeah,
At least that one
yeah.
was good.
95 was so bad, so 96 can thrive. Merchandise for sale. Make sure you go grab some merchandise. Sign up for the channel's subscription service. Anything helps keep the lights on. I appreciate you guys. That's all I got.
Yeah. Yeah. You got a full thing of things coming up, man. Maybe I'll have to we did a podcast,
Early on, I think you're
yeah.
episode like 4.
If you wanna
I'm
do a
up to
return, we
one.
can do a
I'm
return.
I'm up to 160,
I was wait, what was I, episode 5?
like
4?
4 or 5. Yeah, you were very
Okay.
early on. Yeah,
Yeah, maybe we'll do another one maybe.
we'll run it
We'll get
back, or
some
we could
yeah,
review
run it
something.
back.
You want to review a movie or something with me?
Uh, have you reviewed Once Upon a Time in Hollywood yet?
I have not. I love that movie.
Let's do that movie then.
All right.
Well, we'll pick a date for it. We'll do it. That'll be on the ABJ channel. So
Yeah,
make
there you
sure to
go.
go over ABJ's channel. What I'm let me
Fun
see.
fact: on the way home from Florida, on the way home from London, I had a
Mhm.
connecting flight in Germany, and I flew out of Germany back to America in a plane full of Germans. And I decided I was going to put on Once Upon a Time in Hollywood on my seat in front of me to fall asleep. 'Cause
Okay.
it's a long movie. I forgot about the whole Nazi burning them up scene. So I'm on a plane with a bunch of Germans, and the back of my screen is filled with Nazi flags. I was just
Oh
like,
yeah, because
he did not
he
read the
does
room
the
on that plight.
he did the movie, yeah, the movie from the 30s, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my
We did Iron
god.
Claw on me and BP did Iron Claw review on Tornado Tag. So
Oh,
go
what a
check out
great
that one.
movie.
Yeah.
It's
And
sad,
also
but great
I'm
movie.
also last little thing too. If you guys can, please head over to our Spotify and listen to a couple episodes on Spotify. I am very very close when it comes to viewers and listeners on Spotify to be monetized over there. So I need 100 consistent plays for the month. So if you guys are listening to this and you can head over to Spotify, search ABJ podcast and throw a couple episodes on and help me out there, that'd be great.
Make sure to check out Blackwell. His link is in the channel if you're not already subscribed. Make sure to go support him. And big shout out to Blackwell for being here. Next Thursday, we'll be live with the Scoop Slam report. I'm happy to announce that not next week, but 2 weeks from now, if I'm doing the math right, it's either 2 or 3 weeks from now, I'll be with my guy Rewind, Recap, Relive for SummerSlam predictions. We're going to do a Friday special actually instead of Thursday. So that's going to be on the channel. I'm going to probably post that earlier and it'll be live. I think we're going to try to do both channels. I'm not sure yet, but Jonah does a lot of great interviews on his channel with a lot of former professional wrestlers, a lot of Hall of Famers. So we're gonna have him on. He's gonna do some stuff like how we did for WrestleMania. That's gonna be live, and I'm hoping to have some more guests on, and we'll talk about more when it comes to the world of professional wrestling. Like I said, hopefully we'll have ABJ on another time. As for right now, we're gonna ride off into the sunset for your
And
Thursday,
yes, Ewan,
July.
it is on Apple Podcasts, all major podcast platforms.
Apple Podcast. The Google Podcast doesn't exist anymore, doesn't it? They get rid
It
of Google
might, I don't know.
Podcast? Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
it's on my link tree. There's a link tree where it literally links every single podcast platform we're on. And if it's not on a podcast platform you are using, message me and I'll make sure it gets on there.
See, I always like I'm trying to remember every day, like, all right, I'm gonna put the show on Spotify. I'm gonna put the show on Spotify. I forget. I
As soon as I get done
It's-
recording, I download the
you just
episode, I tinker it, and I throw it right on.
you just download the audio. You don't throw it
Mhm.
into like an app or whatever. You just put it right up.
Yep. If you set
Oh,
see, I use a mixing board, so if everything's set up and mixed properly, you're good to go.
oh, okay. All right. Well, I'll have to take that in consideration next time I record some of these. Maybe I'll just do an audio file. So I want to throw these up eventually too on Spotify and all that. But
Sure.
I wish there was more than 24 hours in a day sometimes. You know.
I hear you. I hear you.
Thank you, ABJ, and we'll see you
Thank you.
very
Thank you.
soon. And thanks everyone
Maybe
that
I'll see
checked
you
out
on
the
Friday.
channel.
Maybe we'll
Yeah,
have a
maybe.
beer and watch fighter
Fight pit,
stuff.
yeah.
Fight pit stuff.
Do a little fight pit action.
Maybe we'll
Um,
record a 5 questions with ABJ. I haven't get you on one of those yet.
we could do that. I'll have to let you know what's going down tomorrow. Hope if I'm open, I really am intrigued to see how this is gonna play out.
There's gonna be more too.
Um,
There's gonna be more in the future. So
yeah. Make sure to check out ABJ on all social media platforms, and as well as myself everywhere at the Anthony Leonetti Show. I do have a Scoop Slam Report page on Instagram, but everything is on this channel. Thank you all so much. Consider becoming a member if you already haven't subscribed. Make sure that subscribe button and like the video if you already haven't, or do it again. Do whatever you want. I'll see you all very soon again here on the Anthony Leonetti Show. Let's hit the outro, and we are out of here.